Have you already played all the Pokémon games on the Switch but want to keep hunting monsters? The good news is that there are really strong alternatives for the Switch. Stay tuned if you want to learn more. Welcome to the Switch Gems channel. The games featured today are in no particular order. Drop me your favorite Pokémon alternative in the comments. I will of course give you some information about each game along the way, however it won't be in the form of a comprehensive review. And now without further ado on to the first title. Coromon. Visually, Coromon is clearly inspired by the older Pokémon games, for example on the Game Boy Advance or Nintendo DS. In total we can catch 114 different Coromon on our journey. As usual, we collect Coromon, fight with them, level up, evolve them and so on. Unlike in Pokémon, we don't fight our way from arena to arena, but instead battle so-called titans to collect their essences and, as in most RPGs, save the world from destruction. That actually sums up most of the story. Important features are, for example, that you can regulate the difficulty level from the very beginning, level ups have skill points that can be allocated at will, and evolutions take place in the middle of the battle, not afterwards. Coromon is a real recommendation, especially for fans of the older Pokémon generations. Nexomon 1 and 2. Nexomon is also visually somewhat comparable to older Pokémon games, but with a much less pixelated look and more of a comic style. In total there are actually over 300 Nexomon here, which even look really good for the most part. I was especially surprised by the story here. Without wanting to spoil too much, there are even plot twists and generally exciting passages, which is unfortunately quite unusual for the monster taming genre. Also, here we are able to catch all the starters during the progress of the game, which makes it easier for you to choose at the beginning. If you generally find Pokémon games too easy, you'll be especially happy with Nexomon. The level of difficulty is actually quite high and forces you to grind at some point. Nexomon is also recommended to every die-hard monster taming fan, although the second part is even stronger than the first. Monster Sanctuary. Monster Sanctuary is a little more special and maybe not appealing to all of you, since we don't get a classic RPG from the top-down perspective, but a mixture of monster taming game and Metroidvania in 2D. So if you don't like jump and run elements, you won't have much fun with Monster Sanctuary either. However, if you're open for such a genre mix, Monster Sanctuary is a first-class monster taming game of a different kind. Whether interesting puzzles, tricky jump and run passages, or exciting 3 vs 3 fights, Monster Sanctuary shines in all categories. Despite the Metroidvania elements, battles are turn-based as usual and are sometimes really challenging. Even if Metroidvania and monster taming might sound strange in combination, you should definitely give Monster Sanctuary a chance. Temtem. Temtem is, also visually seen, the closest to the current Pokémon titles. Unlike most monster taming games, Temtem is actually a MMORPG, which means we fight our way through the game world online with friends or in local co-op. Battles here always take place as a duo. Besides that, Temtem offers pretty much everything you'd expect from a Pokémon-style monster taming game. I was actually pretty impressed by the graphics in particular. The monsters look really good, the world looks alive and the battle animations really pack a punch. At some points, however, I wondered if Temtem really needed to be a pure MMO. It would have worked just as well for me as a single-player game with online elements. Nevertheless, Temtem is a very strong monster taming game. Monster Hunter Stories 2. In terms of graphics, Monster Hunter is even more impressive than Temtem. For me, Stories 2 is one of the most visually beautiful monster taming games ever. The monsters here are called Monsties and are hatched, trained and follow us through the story. Exciting characters, impressive monsters and a well-written story characterize Stories 2, and the cutscenes are awesome as well. Unlike the games already presented, we fight side by side with our Monsties, which means we also train our character alongside our monsters. The battles are turn-based as well and require tactical sensitivity at least from time to time. Even though Monster Hunter Stories 2 is not a pure monster taming game, it does have some elements in it that we as monster taming lovers can appreciate. Those 5 games presented are not the only alternatives of course, but in my eyes they are the most obvious and best. What do you think? Is there a game missing from this list for you? Would you like to see a second part? Feel free to write your opinion in the comments. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the further videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time on Switch Gems.